I know what it's like to run out of hope, not just have a bad day. I mean, the place where you've tried, you've prayed, you've healed, you've done the work, you've gotten back up again like fucking a million times over and over and over again. And eventually you get to this place where you start asking, like, when is it my turn, right? When does something finally work out for me? When do I actually get to stop surviving and actually receive? If that's where you are right now, I want to talk to you about something completely different, maybe something, a perspective that you haven't heard yet. It's something that the sages, the mystics, spiritual traditions, they've taught in like 1,000 different ways for years, for years. There are periods in our life where we're no longer who we were, but we can't really see who we're becoming. We're in this sort of cocoon place, right? The cocoon of the butterfly. It's you're no longer a caterpillar, but you have not yet emerged as the butterfly. And that place can be incredibly uncomfortable and destabilizing. And right now, astrologically, we're moving through this eclipse period. And whether you understand eclipses literally, symbolically, or simply as an invitation for reflection, they have long been associated with endings, with beginnings, with revelation, and with change. So I like to think of these periods as thresholds. The old is falling away, right? But the new hasn't completely arrived. So whether you're standing in this doorway and you're like wondering, or you're kind of in the hallway, right? But none of the doors have opened yet. And that is where we often lose hope because the human brain does not like uncertainty. The nervous system wants to know. It wants to know what's happening next. It wants evidence. Where are we going? Is this going to work? Am I safe? When is this going to change? But spirituality asks something very different of us. It asks, who are you going to be before you have the evidence? Can you remain connected to yourself even though you don't know what's going to happen? Can you find something to be grateful for while you're still waiting? Can you experience joy before the thing that you've been praying for arrives? Or is your joy dependent upon getting that outcome and that thing? Because this is where I think we sometimes misunderstand manifestation and spiritual law. We think, oh, being positive is like, if I think the right thoughts, then the universe is going to give me exactly what I want. And I don't think that that's the deepest teaching. I think the deeper teaching is that your inner state cannot be held hostage by outer circumstances, by, your happiness is not dependent upon, like, I will be happy if X, Y, and Z come and work out. Gratitude isn't a transaction with the universe, right? Joy isn't something that you perform so that you're going to be rewarded. There are ways that you come home to yourself and you actually feel those things regardless of what's going on outside. And so that's really something powerful that I'm talking about. It's like, I don't know what happens next, and I don't really know how this is going to work or if it's going to work, but I refuse to abandon myself while I wait. I refuse to spend this chapter of my life believing that nothing good is coming simply because I can't see it either. And I know how hard that can be. I mean, hope is one of the hardest things to maintain. There have been periods in my own life where so many periods where I could not see the other side. I had no idea, but I made this resolution of maintaining my inner joy and my inner gratitude, maintaining my inner high frequency, regardless. There's times when my body completely shut down. My cat is like rubbing against my leg. My body completely shut down. Times when relationships that I thought would last forever fell apart. Times when I lost things that I thought I couldn't live without. Times when I questioned my own purpose, wondered why have I been asked to like walk through so much? And looking backwards, I can see that while I was inside of it, some of these chapters that I thought were really destroying my life were actually redirecting it to where it needed to be. And that doesn't mean that every painful thing that happens for a reason, because that can be incredibly difficult to hear and to accept. But it does mean that spiritually, if we bypass the grief, the anger, the disappointment, and the fear, we're not going to get to the other side and be rewarded, let's say, because we need to allow ourselves, or we should, or possibly I invite you to allow yourself to move through that grief, that anger, that disappointment. You're allowed to feel all of it, but you don't have to build a home there. You don't have to set up camp in those lower vibrations and lower emotions. That's the distinction that I'm trying to make today. Feel the fear, feel the disappointment, feel the grief. And then you come back to yourself. You come back to your breath. You come back to your body. You come back to what is here in the moment. Come back to what is still beautiful. That's gratitude, right? Because your mind is constantly looking for evidence to support the story that you're telling. And if your story becomes nothing else, nothing ever works out for me, or everyone leaves, or I'm running out of time, or nothing's changing, or why me? Why me? The nervous system begins living inside of that reality before anything's even happened. Like you're going to manifest that. So you have to learn to interrupt it, not with toxic positivity, right? I'm not asking you again to spiritually bypass, but with possibility. So try this instead of saying everything is definitely going to work out exactly the way I want it. Try something like, hey, I don't know what happens next, but I am open to being surprised by my life. I have survived things I once thought I couldn't survive. There are possibilities that I cannot see yet. And I can create peace in this moment without knowing exactly what tomorrow holds, because your life is still unfolding. There is hope, and that's what hope is. So maybe you're watching this and you're in that threshold right now, that sacred threshold. Maybe the relationship ended, maybe the money hasn't come, maybe the opportunity hasn't happened, maybe your business isn't where you thought it would be. Maybe you're just fucking exhausted from always having to be the strong one. Maybe you've done so much healing that you're thinking, okay, universe, I get it. Like, can we move on now? And I understand that. All right. But what if this isn't the next chapter where you're going to be punished? What if you're being asked to stop measuring your life only by what's arrived externally? Maybe this is the invitation right now, is to become so deeply rooted in your life that when the next chapter does arrive, you don't need it to rescue you. You can receive it. And that is a huge difference. I don't just want love because I need someone to prove that I'm worthy. I want love because I know I'm worthy. And then you experience love. I don't want success to finally give me permission to feel proud of who I am. I want to be recognized for who I've become and then allow success to meet me there. I don't want abundance because, oh my God, I'm terrified of what will happen without it. I want to cultivate enough inner safety that I can actually hold abundance when it comes. And maybe that is the part of the spiritual work of the in-between, of being in the hallway. So becoming capable enough of holding what you've already asked for. So if you're running out of hope right now, here's what I want you to do today, okay? Find three things that are good right now, not someday, now. Something tiny counts. The sun coming through the window, my cat rubbing up against my leg, your child laughing, a cup of coffee, your favorite song, your breath, your feet touching the earth. It does not have to be huge. And then put your hand on your heart Take one slow, deep breath, okay? And say, I don't need to know how this chapter turns out to be okay. I am present for my life. And then ask yourself, what would I do today if I trusted that my life was still unfolding for me? Maybe you make that phone call. Maybe you rest. Maybe you apply for the thing. Maybe you finally walk away. Maybe you go create something. Maybe you just go outside and have fun and let yourself feel alive again because you don't need to chase the next chapter. Your work is to be right here, to meet this one, to stay grounded, stay grateful, protect your mind, keep tending your nervous system, keep choosing your thoughts, and, leave room for possibility because who knows? Who knows how it's all going to turn out? Keep coming home to yourself. Perhaps that is the greatest reward. Simply not getting everything that you've ever asked for, but perhaps it's realizing that somewhere along the line you became the person that you no longer need that external outcome to give you permission to feel whole. And from that place, imagine what you might be ready to receive. So if you're in this in-between season right now, I want you to tell me in the comments, what are you choosing to trust? And if you need support finding your way back to yourself, that's exactly the work I do. Until next time, remember, your life is still unfolding. Don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle happens. Thanks for joining.